Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. And today's stream is the 13th of December. And I have to go to work at 2 o'clock, so I'll be ending my stream in about an hour. I might go over and do like an hour and 20 minutes. But all in all, this stream is going to be one of my shorter streams because I got work. Anyway, I've been pretty good. I've been working on this animation for a little bit off screen. As you can see, if you've been paying attention, I do have some scenes completed. Quite a few scenes are completed. And I've also been working on an outro animation for my channel when I make my more detailed videos, like if I'm making a guide or some other commentary video or whatever it may be, for pretty much anything. And yeah, I've just been going over and drawing this, working on this animation. I've been doing the hair, and like I've said in previous streams, but I will have to say that like drawing the hair and doing the hair for this elf is probably the most fun I've had. Not to say that this entire project isn't fun, but just that I like working on the hair. It's nice. It's fun for me. So if you're wondering why I'm drawing the hair on a separate layer, essentially what I'm doing is breaking up my animation. And it's a common practice in animation where not all of the objects that you see on a character are drawn on the same layer. And this is done for a multitude of reasons, mostly to maintain sizing consistency, or if you have a more intricate animation, sometimes you need to dedicate specific time to specific elements of that animation to really sell the illusion of movement and character behavior. Even though it is possible to draw all of this on one layer, it would take a very long time. There might end up being some sizing issues, and overall, the animation may end up looking shoddy really bad, and then your like credibility or your name could be under risk. So many animators just choose to say, you know what, I'm just going to draw this on a separate frame. Or, you know what, I might mess up. Let me just draw this, do this somewhere else. Which isn't a bad thing if you're an animator and you choose to do it. So, like, don't feel bad or upset because this is actually common and I would even argue standard practice. Oh, yeah, after this stream, or like probably sometime during the stream, I'm going to send a screenshot of like my yearly report. I'm gonna post it on my community tab because I got that. I think it was the last night, and I just want to say this has been so fun and nice, slowly growing. Like this has been overall a good time and just fun for me. Like I've definitely grown. I've gotten better at my craft. I've gotten better in animation. Even though this teaser trailer is taking me longer than I planned or expected. All in all, this has been very nice and very fun. Now, I think for this world, there would definitely be an inspiration towards fantasy. And what I mean by that is, even though this is a science fantasy where technology and magic exist simultaneously, many of the different fashion statements, technological advancements, and other things like that would be derived from fantasy novels and fantasy books. I definitely see this world as having a sort of neo fantasy movement where creatures like elves, because there have never been actual elves before, they would actually wear long hair not as a signifier of their extended lifespan or their youth and beauty. They would more so wear hair as, like, hey, all these fantasy novels had elves with long hair, so let's wear our hairs long so that we could, take cues from that fantasy novel. And things like airships wouldn't be this big technological advancement because they now have the technology to put it off. It would more so be like, hey, we saw these airships in fantasy novels. Let's try and co-opt them. Let's try and make airships real because they're cool and because we've seen them before. So it's very much a world and a style of, for a lack of a better word, fadism, where things like fads and media and past media has influenced how the world looks and operates. I definitely see there being like royal families or noble families. And again, these noble families can have sort of like grounding. Like a noble family could actually own like magical a magical like power station, or a noble family could like invent a special device that it's able to convert magic into like energy, or there might be some sort of oil company or iron metal smithing metallurgy company. But it's more so like, even though yes we have these air quote royal families and noble families, it's more so seen as a bad thing. Like, because in fantasy you have like nobles and royal families being founded for something, or they're popular because they have an ability that nobody else has. This science fantasy society would take cues from fantasy media and fantasy books and say, hey, there are nobles and royal families in there. So it would be cool if we had them now that we have magic and now that we have all this stuff. And that can actually harken back to the time period. Like, this is the time period of the show is like 2050. So think millennials and Gen Z more grown up. So there's definitely going to be like a shift in there is definitely going to be a shift in scope, because the whole background and the backstory of this show is like, in the year 2000, like around New Year's time, was when the Cascade happened. Apocalyptic event, meteors fall, magic returns. People have magic now. People are fantasy races now. So there really wouldn't be an so there really and I have studied history. So because of the struggle of people going through the apocalypse and having to survive hidden away, or having to adapt for a portion of that time, things like the internet was down for a while. Like, they had like radio waves, radio signals, a few other signals as well, but for the most part there wasn't big cohesion like in bunkers and in different sort of like hideaways. Factions and groups of people could communicate with each other. Communication was still a thing, and there was also this production of escapism art where things like science fiction and fantasy stories was able to peer through because it provided an escapism for the people while they waited until they could leave from their shelters. So it's that combination of trauma and escapism which has led to this society of not really materialism, but I would say it's a society that is definitely centered on consumerism, and popularity isn't the right word. I'm trying to find the right word for it. People just like things that look cool. That's the best sort of definition or explanation I can give is because people read books and they saw that it was cool because they now have magic. They're like, you know what, let's make this a reality, and that's why they have it. I know that's a bit lazy, but that's what I'm working with. Okay, that's really all I can say and sort of do is they saw it as cool, so they did it. But at the same time, it's also led to more morally gray and questionable sort of leaps in technology and advancement. Like, because people view magic and the abilities and utilities of magic as cool, they've also decided and started to peer into the more darker aspects, like using magic to augment humans or augment the environment. So we do have things like super soldiers. We do have things like magical military and infantry, where many of the world's governments have augmented themselves into becoming more militaristic and advanced. And in this show, I will say that because of the precursor event of the collapse, conflict on a worldwide scale has sort of diminished because what essentially happened was humanity being faced with imminent destruction. They knew that the cascade was going to happen before it actually happened. Like, there were some scientists, meteorologists, and astronauts, astrophysicists that learned of this cascade, this coming of meteors, as well as a few religious people as well who like had these end of the world theories and concepts in their head. And I'm getting off topic, but essentially, because people knew that an end was coming, instead of countries privately trying to do their own thing or coming up with their own countermeasures, a lot of the power was put into the United Nations. And so there was a council of chairmen, like one chairman for each sort of continent, that was put together, and they said, hey, we're going to exercise control. This needs to be a world effort. So let's pour all of our resources together and save as many people as possible. And essentially, like, it essentially led to a worldwide government where all of the power was centralized in the United Nations. And there were several research attempts and other attempts made to sort of combat the apocalypse and preserve humanity. And in this advancement and development, what ended up happening is not only did many of the independent governments of the world, like the United States, Russia, China, um, Mexico, different nations and powers like that, get consolidated into one mass. Also, many private corporations and companies were also commandeered as well to pour their resources into, I want to say, relief and preservation efforts. Like, nobody got preferential treatment just because you were rich or had more assets or whatever. You weren't, there was no like premium bundle or premium pack where you could be placed in like a private bunker or a special location with other rich people. It was like, no, we don't have enough time for that. We need to just make sure everyone is safe. And even after the Cascade, that sort of commandeerment and consolidation of power and reign never really ceased, because even after people could leave their shelters, there were still many more issues that needed to be fixed and remedied. And I'll go more in depth in that later, because if I'm being completely honest, while it is thought through, there's just some more skeleton details I need to outline. I guess I would also like to say that I'm not really trying to make an idealized world, or I'm not trying to make a guide as to how to be perfect or to have a good world. This show isn't really meant to be that. It's more so meant to be almost escapism. Like, the theme and the core of this show and of this concept is human potential. And so sadly, I do think that the reason why I use not many real world elements, but a portion of real world elements is not to make a commentary or serve as allegory, but really, in order to talk about human potential, we do have to bring up the human state to an extent. Like, I'm not trying to be an activist with this. I'm not trying to push a narrative or push a message. The core of this show is to just be nice. Because even though the backdrop of the show has major influences and inspirations of like the real world and human potential, I will say that the actual story, which the core story is a group of people seeking revenge on those who have wronged them, I can say that the the core of the show and the actual world almost work against each other. And I'm excited to see how far this will go and what can be done with this. Like the actual world and the show that I'm making are opposites. In a perfect world, why would someone want revenge? In a perfect world, why would people seek justice or to get even with those who have wronged them? How can you wrong someone in this quote unquote perfect world where everything seems to be going right? And I will say that while it may be difficult on paper, like that's half the fun of actually writing and actually telling a story is figuring out and puzzling together the why. Like there could be a myriad of reasons. Like perhaps it's something that happened before the Cascade, which is why people are seeking revenge now. Or perhaps in people's move and shift towards perfection and harmony, there were some slip ups and there were some mistakes, or perhaps even morals were compromised because people thought that they were above it now. It's definitely fun to brainstorm, and I often find myself during work, like whenever I have a break or whenever I'm like stalking or doing something, stalking. Sorry, that's my country accent coming out. Like stalk to, when I'm stalking inventory. Let me put those two words together so it doesn't sound like I'm some creepy stalker. But like but whenever I'm like stocking inventory or zoning or doing whatever at my job, like I do like to take a few seconds and think, like, hmm, what would happen if this happened? Like, what would happen if this world was had like a secret underbelly, or if there were like some skeletons in this world's closet? Like, how do you have a perfect world with issues? How do you do XYZ, whatever? And it's definitely been fun. Like it's been hard, but it's also been fun, and I have enjoyed it. Mm, let's see here. I'm gonna have to zoom in because this line is coming out as janky and jumpy, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. So let me just. That's definitely better. Two, three. Okay, I'm about 40 minutes in. Coming along nicely, folks. Let's see. Oh yeah, I've grown to 119 followers. Soon it's gonna be 120, then 500, then 1,000, then 2,000. You know, this is nice. That's really all I can say about this. Is just this has been nice, and I've been getting so much support recently. It's honestly been very uplifting, very uplifting. Cause like I've been through a lot, and I've talked about like a lot of my issues. Like I've gone over my college stuff with you guys, my employment issues, my creative and art issues, and you guys still stay followed. Like you guys are honestly amazing, and I truly love it, and I'm truly thankful. I really hope my mic isn't okay. It's not muted. Like sometimes I get afraid that sometimes I have to check. Like, is my mic muted? Can y'all hear me? But like, no, it's fine. It's fine because I didn't check earlier, so I want to make sure that it wasn't off the whole time. It wasn't off the whole time, and I've just been talking to myself. Like that would be horrible. Then I really would be. Then I really would be crazy. But you guys really would be just subscribed to a crazy person. I was just doing a little stretch, getting a bit stiff, but it's all good. It's all right. Now, I think after I finish up the hair, I'm definitely going to do the outline of the eyes because I feel like that may take, while it might not take the longest, it is going to be the one that I'm going to have to pay the most attention to because I'm used to drawing eyes with regular ears rather than elf ears. So, like, I may mess up or it may look sloppy. And, like, I don't want you guys to attack me in the comments or say, you're a failure, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. I hope I have enough time to finish the hair. I mean, I hope I have enough time to do the eyes after I finish the hair, cause this is honestly coming along nicely, and I've really been enjoying this. So after this stream, I think I'm gonna fix my lunch, put on like a sweater or something. What I usually do is like I'll get dressed in like some jeans, like a wife beater or a t-shirt. Then like before I leave, I put on my top layer. I might like put on a sweater or some sort of turtleneck or something. I already had my breakfast. I just had like a cup of coffee with some honey. Like I didn't really, how do I put it? Like we ran out of sugar, so I said, "Oh, honey, that looks nice." And I put some honey in my coffee. It actually tastes pretty good. Can't complain. Like they're both sugars, so even though I didn't get like the same sweetness from like actual sugar, the honey was a nice change and it was a nice blend. Okay. I want to check my phone real quick to see if there's anything. Let's see here. Okay. Where was it? Ah, there it was. Okay. Now let me just add some frames so I don't have to go back as often. Let me zoom in. I think that's good. You know what? That might be all that I have time for. I could go a little bit over, but like I don't want to jinx anything in case anything happens. So like I'm just gonna call it for today. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys enjoyed me talking a bit more about my show, my teaser trailer, the world it's set in. I didn't really get to talk much about how my job is going or other stuff like that, but all in all, things are pretty good right now. Like, I'm saving up my money. I'm still applying to other jobs, like graphic design jobs, video editor jobs, animator jobs, stuff like that, because I can't. I refuse to work in retail forever. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed for what little time we had. And yeah, this has been. Oh, I can't say that yet. My bad. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share even. I have a Buy Me a Coffee as well in case you want to support me that way. I also have a Patreon. The descriptions are below. And yes, this has been Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art, and I'll see you guys later.